What's up guys, Starlink here. Now it's been a long time coming, but with the release of Timespinner finally out the door, and now that me and many others have spent a decent amount of time with it, did it turn out alright in the end? And is it a worthy metroidvania title to add to your collection? Well, sit back and chill out, grab a snack or a drink, or both, and join me as we talk about Timespinner and see whether it lived up to the hype or not. Let's check it out. The story begins with Lunace, who's having a little celebration over becoming the clan's next time messenger when the local evil empire of the game decides to crash the party. Lunace and her mother manage to escape to the Timespinner, a magical machine that allows their clan's time messenger to travel through time. Lunace jumps into the portal just as her mother is killed right in front of her eyes and the Timespinner is destroyed, scattering the pieces across the land. Thus begins your quest on finding the missing pieces of the Timespinner and traveling through time, changing history in the process, all while bent on a thirst for revenge against the Empire for murdering your family and destroying your home. Ah, the classic revenge plots. There's a little more to it than just that, however. Without spoiling too much for you guys, there lies a deeper story here with the constant power struggle between two great empires and the casualties that come from them. You'll find little bits of text strewn throughout the game via computers in the future to written notes in the past detailing events going on behind the scenes. I found that the story to be quite interesting overall, and it continued to keep my interest as I discovered more of the plot surrounding some of these characters in the game. So I'm just going to get this out of the way right off the bat. The gameplay in Timespinner is fantastic. It's fast, smooth, and very fun to play. The combat is fluid with enemies and massive boss fights, plenty of little secrets to discover, the works. Basically everything you would look for in a more recent Castlevania game, gameplay-wise, Timespinner has it. You could even argue in saying it's one of the best Metroidvanias that I've played this year. But what kind of a review would this be if I wasn't just a little bit more technical, am I right? With that said, let's move on, shall we? Now, I found the weapon system in this game to be a refreshing take on the genre that we haven't seen in a while. Instead of your standard weapons like swords, axes, bows, etc., you have two magical orbs for attacking, a ring for utilizing various spells, and a necklace for any passive abilities. Instead of a warrior, for example, you're more like a magician in a way. Throughout the game, you'll find different kinds of orbs, rings, and necklaces to mix and match your abilities to your liking. For the orbs, however, I found it best to stick with two of the same set, only ever switching out my rings and my necklaces. You see, every time you pick up an orb, you'll get two for a matching set. Each orb set you obtain has a separate level system tied to it. The more you use each orb, the stronger it gets. Your orbs gain levels, basically. You'll also obtain rings and necklaces that correspond to those different orb sets, which can be created via an alchemist vendor in the Survivor Camp Hub area. The higher level the orbs, the more strength each matching ring and necklace will have as well. It also helps that you have 3 separate loadouts that you can swap between on the fly with the press of a button, the L2 and R2 buttons in my case. You'll definitely want to utilize that too, as certain enemies are weaker to specific orbs. I found it best to have one set for close range physical attacks and another for longer range or magical attacks. I used the third loadout for random or experimental combinations. That said, however, you can have it set up any way you like and you feel comfortable with. There are also plenty of relics to find that will give you new abilities like your double jump, dashing, super jumps, etc. Seriously, if you know anything about previous Castlevania titles, these abilities won't come as a shock to you. They're your standard fare when it comes to these types of games after all. Timespinner also has a decent dose of familiars to collect as well, and you know what? They can actually be pretty useful in this game, and there's no reason to not have them out with you at all times. There's about 6 total, and they have their own section in the menu to equip them, so you don't have to worry about them taking up one of your equipment slots. That already one-ups Chasm right there. Now this is how you should do a familiar system in a game if it's going to be present, in my opinion. As with Chasm, the familiars in Timespinner don't gain experience with you, they have to attack the enemy to do so. But they don't have to make the killing blow, and they can perform actions more frequently, even at lower levels. Combine that with the fact that you don't have to worry about one of your equipment slots being taken up, makes them significantly more useful. I just wish they gained experience with you while equipped versus having to attack the enemy first, but that's not a big deal really. While we're on the topic of familiars, I should mention that the menu interface as a whole is nice and clean with dedicated sections for just about everything you need to know about. Menus are left uncluttered, and while there is a lot of information to absorb, I had no problem navigating to get to where I needed to go. The journal section, for example, has separate entries for notes, quests, and a bestiary, just to name a few. I hate to feel like I'm nitpicking on Chasm here, but again, Timespinner's bestiary is a breath of fresh air in comparison. The index makes it a breeze to find what enemy you're looking for, showing you what weapons and elements they're weak against. There's even a star rating for each of the monster drops, signifying their rarity. Again, like Chasm, I don't think the luck stat really helps much when it comes to item drops in this game, but the difference here is they seem to drop more frequently. My luck has always been below 30, and I had no problem collecting an assortment of items regardless of rarity. I'm not going to complain about that too much though, as it didn't feel like such a chore trying to pick up a piece of meat for a quest, which is a blessing in disguise. Speaking of quests, there's quite a number of them in Timespinner. Very early in the game, you'll come across a group of survivors from the war who need your help. They'll hand out your standard fetch and hunting based quests, which will net you some cash and items, nothing too fancy. You'll also learn a lot of background history about these characters and their constant struggle with the two empires who are at war with each other. You will frequently be jumping between the past and the present in an effort to fulfill requests and change history, so it helps that traversing through these maps is a breeze. You have two maps, one of the past and one of the present. You can jump between each map freely at these various warp room locations strewn throughout the game. Backtracking between these areas doesn't take much time either, considering how many warp rooms there are. Combine that with the traversal based abilities that you'll pick up later on in the game, and you'll be zooming across the map in no time at all. Now, I thought that the time traveling feature was a neat mechanic, but it should also be mentioned that you can freeze time at your leisure as well, as long as you have enough sand in your hourglass to do so anyway. Now, I'll be honest with you, I never used the time freeze ability much in this game. In fact, there were times that I completely forgot I had it. It can be helpful at times if you want to be running by enemies or for using them as a stepping stone to reach new areas, sure, but other than that, I had no problems taking on hordes of enemies and boss fights without it. I found the art style in Timespinner to be fantastic. Both the past and present maps have detailed backgrounds and environments. This is the benefit of not having procedurally generated maps and why I prefer them in games like this, honestly. Each area is uniquely designed and you're not stuck with a bunch of random rooms or long corridors that look the same. The monster designs are interesting as well, to the cute and cuddly to the creepy and grotesque horrors. This game has plenty of variety when it comes to monster designs. Spell animations are a sight to behold with plenty of combinations to choose from. Overall, the game looks great and provides plenty of visual flair for the eyes. Alright, now on to one of my favorite parts about the game, the music. I enjoyed listening to just about every track heard in Timespinner. You're bound to have more than just a few tracks echoing in the back of your head by the time you're finished with this game for sure. From your more soothing and classical melodies to your more upbeat tracks, there's plenty of variety to be found here. I love the music so much that I immediately picked up the soundtrack off of Bandcamp for $10. It comes with a total of 57 tracks, including some unused ones. Remember that heart-pumping track that you heard from the Kickstarter trailer? That's here too. I recommend grabbing the soundtrack if you enjoy any of the music from the game. There's even a physical CD copy for $25 if you're so inclined. One final thing that I want to mention is that Timespinner is a cross-buy title on PS4 and Vita. And as I did with Chasm, after enjoying it on the PS4, I decided to play it for a bit on the Vita to see how it runs. To tell you the truth, I honestly never expected it to run as bad as it does on the Vita. The frame rate is choppy and even freezes up at times, making it almost unplayable. Load times are longer than they are on PS4, which is to be expected, but even transitioning to new areas on the map took forever on the Vita versus PS4, which is seamless. Even with the most recent patch, while fixing some frame rate problems, still had some lingering issues of frame skipping to the point of being unplayable on the system, which is a shame. This sounds like just a bad porting job to me. Sure, there was bound to be a hit in frame rate compared to PS4 and PC, maybe, but the Vita should be more than capable of running this game just fine. Hopefully we'll see a patch to fix these problems at some point soon, cause as it stands now, I can't recommend playing this on the Vita and it's best avoided. This also doesn't bode well for the 3DS release unless they come up with a solution quick. If you really want to play Timespinner on a handheld, I would hold out for the eventual Switch release. While it may not be confirmed as of yet, The dev has hinted at it more than a few times already of the game releasing on more platforms, so I think it's only a matter of time. Overall, I had a blast playing Timespinner, and if I had to slap a number on it, I'd give it 9.5 magical hourglasses out of 10. You really can't go wrong with this game if you have any love for titles like Symphony of the Night. Timespinner manages to scratch that metroidvania itch in all the right places, and is a game that should not be missed by fans of the genre. Well, it seems like Timespinner turned out to be a worthy title in my book. Seriously guys, this is a gem that's hidden in the rough and should not be missed if you have any love for the genre. Pick this game up, you will not be disappointed. But as always guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, and have you played Timespinner yet? Tell me your thoughts down below. And as always guys, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Reach for the stars guys. You know, I just had this sitting in the background as a prop. You know, it's a silly prop, it doesn't do anything. But wouldn't it be cool if you could just flip this over and freeze time, just even for a moment? You know, that would be pretty cool. You shouldn't have done that. Help me, please, 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 help me. Yeah, it's not happening.